Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Queenie. I didn't even start the daggone I did not even start my countdown. I know y'all looking at me already. Yes, I'm
Hey
here. I'm
everybody, what's
live.
up? It's your girl Queenie.
I didn't even start the daggone I did not. All right, there we go. I want to get everything up and running. I am super, super excited uh that tonight I am joined by Pink Girl Teaches. I'm so happy about this. She is actually in the building, or shall I say the virtual building. Always great as I'm anticipating her and others. So let's see. Yeah, she is out there waiting. But let me just talk a little bit about Joy. Joy is, first of all, is really, really awesome. If you have not heard of Pink Girl Teaches, you have to go out there to Instagram and you can find her, Facebook, YouTube. She's all over the place. TikTok, she's on TikTok. And I think she might be on TikTok under Pink Girl Teaches as well. But I'm just going to give you a little bit about Joy. Joy is an emerging voice with a profound message that inspires hope, ignites passion, and unleashes purpose. When this girl talks, trust me, you're going to listen. As soon as she began to talk, she's captivating. So I'm excited to have her here tonight. She's a dynamic transformational speaker, excites her audience. This dynamic transformational speaker excites her audience and translates hard-hitting spiritual insights into everyday language that empowers individuals to transform their lives by helping change the path they take on the quest for meaning, dignity, purpose, and hope. A narcissistic abuse recovery coach, it's why I know her. She offers unique programs that passionately elevate the lives of her clients in a meaningful and distinctive way, empowering them to evolve into their most significant state. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit to give you a wrap. Joy is a mother of a teenage daughter and son who are her greatest inspiration. And this woman is amazing. Okay. I'm so excited to have Joy with us tonight. We're going to be talking about love, life, and relationships. The girls are talking tonight. We're just going to have a little bit of fun. And I hope that you enjoy this. So share, put it out there, share it on Facebook because Facebook be tripping. We're over here on YouTube tonight. So share it out there. Share it on, via text, let people know we're here and come and join us. You can also obviously chat with us live tonight. We'll do our best to get into the comment section, but if we don't, we'll get there at some point. So just leave us a message. I'll make sure that you know how to find Pink Girl Teaches or Joy. Just in a moment, we're going to invite her in. This is just going to be fun. I am excited about. Look, my phone's steady going off. I'm gonna turn these notifications off. Don't worry. But I'm excited about chatting with her tonight. There's a lot of things going on in the world. Of course, we're going to hit on a few things, few hot topics. And there's one in particular that I'm super excited about getting to, which involves Pastor Michael Todd. So, with that being said, let me go ahead and welcome Pink Girl Teachers into the space tonight. Let's see. Let me get her up in here. Joy, are you there? Hi.
Hello.
How are you, beautiful?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You look so bright and gorgeous over there.
Thank you. So do you. You don't look like somebody who is coming out of what you've been through.
Girl, if only
Girl.
I looked like what I've been through.
Mm-mm. But you look
Oh,
amazing.
thank you, sweetie. Thank you. You know what? I feel good today. I'm excited about, of course, jumping on here with you. I've been looking forward to this all week. Definitely kept thinking about it, like, how am I going to do this? I got to do it. I want to get together with you and just touch base. You have such a sweet soul and spirit, and it's nice to just connect, in a kind of an intimate space. So I so appreciate you joining me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I love when we get to have conversations.
So listen, we are live on YouTube. I am trying to get it all together so I can watch it, make sure everything is looking good, be able to answer any questions and make sure we share it and all that. So I'm going to get set up over here and I want us to jump right into it. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what's been going on with you while I'm over here getting our YouTube set up properly?
Well, what's been going on with me? Life, girl, life. Been
Like,
trying to keep it all together. and just continue to keep the main thing the main thing.
Mm.
Yeah, that's like a handful by itself. You're trying to keep the your business aspect running, and then there's the motherhood, and then there's regular work and life. And balance is so important, because when you lean in on too much in one area, then it offsets other things. And so it's just finding that sweet spot. But
Yeah.
thankfully, like, the kids are older,
Yeah.
so it gets easier.
Doesn't it, girl? Now, how old are the babies?
Listen, my daughter just turned 18 last month, and my son turned 15. It's like they're both 25.
So tell me, how are you managing with the baby, with your daughter, I say baby, being officially 18 now?
We're doing just fine. We've always had a really great relationship where we like
Yeah.
just, come and talk about whatever, and we get to share a lot of things.
Yeah.
She has, I mean, there was a couple of hiccups here and there, throughout the years, but I think like maybe only two major ones.
Yeah.
And being her mom it's been a pleasure. It has been a complete pleasure. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, you're a mother to a daughter," and I'm like, okay. So I was, for a minute, I was waiting for those years that people talk about to show up, and thankfully, I didn't have to deal with those things. It's just being able to stay honest with each other,
Yeah.
and I've been so honest with her about my mistakes, about things I could have done better, things that I should have done better, where where some of my problems arose from, and just being honest with her. And so even when I do shadow work by myself, I try to, she's not beat for it, but I'm like, why don't you participate with this, join me, let's get to know, yourself. You don't have to share your answers with me, but just highlighting the importance of being self-aware and that kind of thing. And then she knows I talk about narcissists 24/7. So I'm like, do you know what a narcissist is? How can you tell if somebody's a narcissist? And how do you feel about how you treat people? And she's like, Mom.
Yeah. Oh, but that's a beautiful lesson to teach and to learn. Because think about, what if we would have known, truly known, prior to getting into any of our situations? I think we would have probably chosen differently. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Been more aware of what's out there. Because when you're not aware of what's out there, sometimes you just fall for anything because you think it's love.
Yeah,
And of course,
absolutely.
we know that narcissists can show you love. I
They
mean,
can
like,
they
from the
can show you an
moment,
illusion.
that's what I'm saying. They'll show you love from the moment, they're in your face. Suddenly it's like, wow,
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you're teaching her those lessons. And I'm also glad to know that you didn't have those trying teenage years like many of us did. I have a daughter as well, and she's grown. She's 20, almost 21, work, school, doing her thing. But I did go through, I mean, it wasn't when I look at it, to be honest with you, Joy, it wasn't that bad. You know what I mean? Like, she had her attitude. Who doesn't? Wasn't, I didn't have to go run her down, run her out, take her out, drag her out of boys' houses. I didn't have to do any of those things. Um, but she's very headstrong, very determined, know exactly what she wants. And so mom really can't tell her anything. That was the challenge.
And that is a challenge, but I think in itself it's a beautiful thing, because she knows what she wants.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes, okay, we may know what we want, but it's not the right thing. But if she's able to self-reflect and make a better decision. But I think it seems bad in the moments, because we're living life in the moment. And you also got to take into consideration the other variations in life at the time.
Mm,
And sometimes that just makes it seem more than it actually really is. But
yeah.
it's a beautiful thing to say, oh, it wasn't that bad.
You better know it, because now when I look back, I'm like, she got it. She gets it. Like, I don't worry about her like my son. Why does it count? No. But I don't worry about her because she really gets it. As hard as I was on her, and as much as we bump heads, she has her job, her car. She's very focused. She's like, hey, I've got her money. She saves. I mean, she's just gets it. So
That's beautiful.
yeah, I mean, really, it is. I mean, her attitude is not always great, but you know what? Guess what? She's gonna be fine. If anything ever would happen to me, that girl is fine. You know what I mean? So I don't too much worry about her at all.
Great job, Mom.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't do it by
You're
myself, honey. It took
welcome.
a whole community, but thank you, honey. All right, let's get into this, Joy. Tonight we're going to be talking about love, life, and all things relationships. I love your perspective on life. And I know we're all still figuring it out. We're all still evolving, but you have an amazing platform. And you are always trying to really teach and help people like myself and so many others grow and get to our next level. Higher heights and deeper depths of ourselves, right? And find healthy relationships. Of course, there's a few things I want to talk to you about tonight. I wanted to touch base on like these patterns that some of us find ourselves in the pursuit of love. Of course, the toxic behaviors that we find ourselves either accepting or even practicing ourselves. What is going on in this space that we're in as it relates to love, dating, our singlehood, our womanhood, even our masculinity, our manhood? These men are struggling too. So tell me what you think about what the state of love, especially in the Black community, but the state of love that we are now finding ourselves in. Let's talk about it.
Wow. The state of love. That's such a deep question, you know. But I think for, we can't talk about the state of love without putting in social media.
Let's do it.
Because social media, I think, plays a very large role in how relationships are done and just in the advancement of the 21st century. I mean, we're in a time where love is in your pocket 24/7, and that's just a variation of love. You can go on your phone at any given point and find the attention that you want. You can
Yeah.
find the affection that you want. You can get the adoration, the admiration that you want. It's all in your back pocket. You can go from Tinder to Bumble to Plenty of Fish to Match.com to Pornhub to whatever it is that tickles your fancy, and you can get to hear whatever it is that you need. And so then we have to then consider that, oh, okay, so you may find somebody who's compatible with you. Are you willing to stop? Are you really willing to stop and give it a fair try with this person? Or, you know what, maybe if I keep swiping, it's going to get better. And then people swipe and they continue to swipe. And then you also have people with, you see, that social media gave so many people platforms, and some honestly don't deserve the platforms that they have because of the influence that they have. I mean, I'm just saying, because I think, one of the most irresponsible things is to use our voice carelessly. We should be able to build up each other. And until you recognize, or until a person gets to truly know who they are, their voice is dangerous, because you can have somebody whose perspective on life and love has been corrupted or has been compromised by their own experiences in life. And now here they have this mega platform, and they begin to, from their compromised state, speak. But you see what happens when you have something that is compromised, it is only going to breed corruption. And so that's what we're seeing take place on such a large scale. It's really like you can have it your way. You can do what you want, have it your way, really. And that's not how life is.
Yeah.
But people just are out here doing what they want to do. And each one, and I mean young ones, telling you, oh, women, like, sir, you're barely out of your diaper, and you are here trying to give men relationship advice, women relationship advice. And then you have women like, sis, what is wrong with you? You keep jumping from table to table trying to eat what everybody is saying. But these are men that are telling you how to be a woman. Now, a man can't tell you how to be a feminine woman. They've never been a woman a day in their lives. Likewise, I can't tell you how to be or a man how to be, a masculine man or whatever. But I can tell you how to be an integral person. I can tell you how to have values. I can tell you how to respect and honor yourself and honor other people. I can tell you how to be a good person. But you have women sitting under men trying to find out how to be a woman. Just make it make sense. Because for me, all he can do is tell you how he wants you to be, the type of woman that he desires. And so why do you need somebody making a duplicate of potential partners for himself when all he needs is one?
Mm,
When he
mm,
sit down with his own wife and talk to her about what he wants, or the woman that he's courting, like, this is the type of woman I want.
mhm.
But not out here telling everybody, well, if you're not like this, if you're not like this, nobody's going to want you. No, sir, you don't want me. And I
Yeah.
don't want you to.
Yeah. Oh, girl, you already know. You always dropping them daggone nuggets. It never fails. That's why I have to record you so I can go back and listen to you because you be killing it like that. I love it. Listen, one thing that jumped out to me, men or women out here trying to tell the other sex how to be exactly what we, as if we're a monolith, need and want. Why and how is that even possible? You and I exchanged some stuff that's going on out there in social media land, of course. And one thing that jumped out in the comment section where there was a female was telling us how to was it what was she doing? How to be a
Girl,
like how to
uh-huh.
make it basically how to make him choose you know, along the line. I don't want to pull her out, I don't want to do that, but you know, like how to make him choose you, like all the women, right? What we need to do, or how this game that we need to play. And the guy said the guy in the comments said the game has changed. That doesn't work. And I thought about that. Everybody else was like, that's right. They were all, you know, like jumping on it, like, yeah, that's how we need to be. And I began to sit and think, like, that doesn't work for every person. It would never work for every guy because every guy is not the exact same unless you're shopping at the same store on the same rack in the same shirts with the same color and the same style. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're shopping there all the time, then the formula will not work. You get what I'm saying? So when you said it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's absolutely correct. We have gotten it wrong, I believe. In pursuit of love. Do we even really know what love really is anymore, Joy? Like, that's really a good question. Like, do we know that?
I think people have a different variation on what love is.
Yeah.
And this is the problem is that I really have this thing about society and culture. Like, me and society and culture, we're not getting along very well. And I
Not right
think a
now.
lot of what they no, no, a lot of what they've put out needs to be dismantled. Because how is this society and culture going to have the megaphone on what love is when all that they show us and all that they want to highlight is nothing but toxicity? I haven't watched TV in a long time, but it's been years since I ever watched a reality show. And that
Mm,
was because I was like, what am I going to take away from this?
yeah.
How is it going to help me grow? How, if my child walked in and saw me watching this, what are they going to take away from it? So I made the decision that I wasn't going to. Now, it was entertaining, but ultimately it wasn't going to produce the type of fruit that I wanted from my children,
Right.
and so I shut that down when they were still toddlers. Like, that was a long time ago. And
Yeah.
now, the same thing is just happening, but it's like, from what I hear and the clips that I get to see on social media, it's like everything has been amplified. And if you can be more ratchet, if you can be more toxic, if you can be just the worst, then you get the playtime. But I think what it is, to some degree, is that everybody, all of us, we're searching for something in life. But if we're searching for something, it can't be from outside of us.
Mhm.
Everybody wants to be successful, but you can't be successful if you're not significant. What I
Ooh,
mean is that in order for anybody can be successful, we've had so many people that have had those 15 minutes of fame.
yeah.
That's because they didn't have anything significant to continue to sustain what they built. Now we can talk about, we're chasing bags or whatever. That's problematic in itself. But if people are saying that I want to be successful, I want to live a successful life, what is the driving factor behind you wanting that success? And if you have success can last a lifetime. That's going to fade away. But now, when you start looking at things from a perspective of saying, I want something significant, significance is what legacies are built off. So you can go, we can pass away and everything, but that continues to carry on because it's what you gave that's on the inside of you. And it's not just necessarily like generational wealth, but what wisdom have you left? And when we think about you when you're gone, What are we still learning from what you left? What is your legacy made up of? And when you search for significance, you'll always be successful. You can never be significant without experiencing a great measure of success.
Girl, I'm
Girl,
telling you, y'all, I know whoever's watching, y'all tuning in, y'all joining in, share. I told y'all, Pink Girl Teaches. First of all, the name is so fitting, hence why I wear my pink tonight. But this girl is bad, okay? Joy, I love it. I love it. I love it. I don't know where we're going with this love thing. I have always been so very optimistic. But I think when I really step back and I look at the state of the culture that we're in, right? Um, I do also feel personally, I feel sometimes defeated. Like, unless I find someone along their journey evolving like I'm evolving, then I may actually grow old. Now, there's nothing wrong with growing old alone, because obviously I'm not totally alone. Um, but without that intimate, full-time partner where I can build and grow and do life with. Um, I kind of made a decision just because I was looking at the pool that's out there. I said, before I settle ever again, like I did in the relationship that kind of brought us together, if I before I ever do that again, I will remain in a position where I can choose when and who I desire to be with and walk back away. I will never settle into another relationship like I did with that one, the one in particular that I'm speaking of. But I see a lot of that energy out here. Everywhere I turn, it's there. How do we navigate? Now, I know you teach a lot on narcissism and narcissistic personality disorders and the traits and all things that's connected in that space. You have it down and you teach real stuff like life lessons. How do we navigate this? Because I'm feeling defeated. And what? My name is Queenie Love, but I'm feeling defeated, girl. So tell me, how do we navigate this space that we're in?
I think the most important thing is sitting down by yourself for a minute and asking yourself, really, who am I? Who am I? Because I think we have a lot of people who are out there who don't know themselves. And how are you going to have lifelong sustaining love when you have no clue to who you are? And so part of you asking yourself, who am I? Is then what am I, what is my core values? You got to really sit down, like, listen, you got to sit down and ask yourself some difficult questions, and also just be willing to not be out there. Because
Yes.
how many times are you going to put yourself out there and come back with the same results? And it
Mm,
doesn't mean that the relationships end the same way, but it doesn't end in happily ever after,
yeah.
right? You don't get that desired fulfillment. It's just one disappointment on top of another, on top of another, especially now when we know it's a whole cesspool out there. Okay. So sit down and really dive in and ask yourself. I sat down with myself, and I can only tell about my experience. I sat down and I was like, okay, what are your values? What do you value most about life? And the top thing on my list was always God. So then I was like, okay, girl, you trust God for a job. You trust God when your kids are sick. You trust God when you're facing life difficulties. Are you going to trust Him for a spouse? And I was like, you know what? No, let me dive deeper with God, and let me get really back in touch with my roots, and like all the way. No half stepping, no running from purpose, because I was a whole runner. I
Yeah.
have nothing to do with that purpose.
Yeah.
I want to do what you're calling me to do. But then I said, you know what? Let me just give it a try, like all out. And so I did. And the more I spent time with him, the more I got to see, the more you spend time in his presence, the more he reveals himself to you. But you see, then as he reveals himself to you, he shows you who you are.
You are.
So once I began to see myself in a new way, not who I thought I was, but like who he says that I am. And he still reveals, because we're still learning about him, right? But then he showed me how he loves me. And when you understand how loved you are, and he's taught me, he's been teaching me how to love myself. And so I understand that the way, the love that I have, and the love, not just that I have for myself, but the love that I have to give to somebody, I can't be cheap with it. I can't be casual with it. I can't be desperate with it, because my love builds. My love inspires. My love draws love. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so I had to really sit down and then, just say, you know what, God, I'm willing to do this your way. And so whatever this journey looks like, it's just going to be what he says. If he's going to pull me away from God, he's
Mhm.
not for me.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And you just got to be honest with yourself. Like, do I really have it in me to be out there like that? And do I mind waiting? Because as much as, women, we can talk about being frustrated right now, right? There are men who are just like us,
Sure. There's a
and
lot of
they're
men who
also
are just
pulling
like us.
away. It's just that the other type of man is the one who shows up. But I still believe in love. I still believe that it's out there. I still believe that people are getting together for the right reasons and will have long, healthy, productive relationships. I still believe that. And it just means, sometimes be patient and don't compromise. People always tell you, oh, your standards are too high, your standards are too high. According to who? They tell you, oh, so, I'm a good man over here, good man over here, good woman. You must get you a good man, get you a good woman. First of all, and I've been saying this a lot, good is at the bottom of the totem pole. Good
Good
people
Lord.
still cheat, good people still lie, good people still break hearts. It goes good, better, best. So if you know where you fit in that, then you hold your peace until it's time for you to take your position.
Ooh, y'all, she said a word, didn't she? I told you, I told you. Listen, you hit on something that, and I know we got to pivot into something different, but you hit on something, and I've discovered this as well. There are a lot of good men, great men, wonderful men out here that are just like us, that are trying to navigate this thing as well. Of course, we can't seem to find them as often as we can find the other predators, but like I'm running into, in some regard, men that they've gone through the things that you and I we talk about. They too have gone through it, and they will come to me like, "Oh my God, Queenie, you said something in your podcast that resonated with me," and or they reveal that they've been victimized by that same energy, same spirit, obviously in a dress. So, what do you think about that? I mean, are you running into that a lot in your coaching space and your talk space with men that are revealing like, I know you talking to women, but I'm dealing with this too.
Queenie, I had to create a whole program for them
Men, yeah,
because they're coming and they're desperate for healing,
yeah,
and also just to be validated, because when you have that type of woman, and we can't say that, sometimes they'll talk amongst themselves, right? You get to listen into barbershop talks sometimes, and they just call her a crazy woman. No, call
yeah,
her what she is, because crazy, crazy can be cute sometimes,
yeah,
or she's, yeah, no, she is a whole narcissist. She
yeah.
has a personality disorder. And it's important that they know, like, listen, you cannot love it out of her. You cannot buy, you can, I mean, you could spend all your money, because she wants your money anyhow. She gonna run you broke dry, or she'll just give you all the money that she has so that she can manipulate you.
Yeah.
And it's important that, as much as because I know, like, I talk, and then a lot of people say, oh, you're always talking about the men, but I
Mhm,
don't include the sex,
mhm.
because it goes both ways.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know those traits, men and women have them. And I think for men, it's difficult for them to come forth and say, this is what I'm going through,
yeah,
because for so long the messaging has been, be tough, you can't cry, and you got to be a man, and you got to take it, and how could you let her do that, gaslighting them further.
mhm, mhm.
And so how do then, if they're coming from, maybe even possibly experiencing it in their childhood, and then at a different level, right? And now they're experiencing it in their intimate relationships, where they should be able to be at peace and be comfortable and be secure, but now they're living all kinds of terror, like their home suddenly turns into the Bates Motel. And
Yeah,
how do you rest? How do you just be at ease in so much confusion and chaos. And then there's the parental alienation. I mean, there's so many things that you can pull away that they have to deal with. And then the woman, because she's been that way her entire life, really, she's had decades upon decades and decades to perfect her craft, that they don't see it coming. The same way we don't, they don't.
They don't either. Yeah. The other thing I discovered is that sometimes men grow up in homes with women who are very domineering. And I know I typically get drugged when I bring up borderline personality disorder, but I'm still going to say it because if we talk about MPD, we deserve to talk about BPD because it's a thing. We give a pass for BPD behavior, BPD, because for whatever reason we give a pass because a lot of women show up on that scale. But we will publicly talk about MPD all day long and don't care. And when people want us to give grace, I know for me personally, give grace to BPD. Well, unfortunately, I don't give a lot of grace to it. I understand, I know that it's not quite MPD, but I've seen what it can do to men. I've seen what it can do, and I speak from a watching a man go through it with a female that is BPD and seeing her just drive him absolutely insane and
Yes.
manipulate and create an issue around everything, and is explosive all the time. And then on the very sensitive, very loving, very kind, and then right back to you, and he just continues to become smaller and smaller. And so when I've realized that I've met a lot of men that have endured that. Either they grew up in a home with a mother or sisters or whomever that way, and then they wind up in relationships because they have a higher tolerance for putting up with this type of behavior. So they go into these relationships with this high tolerance and they think they can just love them, love them, love them, stay with them, love like the 18 years that they stayed at home. And unfortunately, they lose their way as well. And when they finally do break free, they wind up in my inbox telling me all these different stories. I'm not sure exactly what she was. They're not sure. And it's heartbreaking because I remember when I wasn't sure what a person was. And so I remember being in that state of mind, like just confused, not quite having a name or title or understanding of what they were, but you knew there was something. And the only thing that I can muster up, the only thing I see sometimes they text me is she's evil, or she's she's a devil. You know what I mean? And so unfortunately, I've already been there. And then I start listening and talking to them, and I'm like, wow, their conditioning started when they were young. They don't even realize it, unfortunately. And I think that we must continue to talk about these things openly and honestly. And I know, I get drugged when I talk about BPD. I got drugged. I literally had to pull a video down. That's how bad they drugged me. But I was saying that you have to be careful if you're in a relationship with someone that is borderline personality disordered. I do not care, eccentric. I said, you have to be careful because that person's illness will become yours and they will drag you down if you are not careful and if you do not know the signs and you do not know what's happening. And did I ever get dragged? But then I look at all the different videos I've ever put up and all the different talks I've ever had on my podcast. Guys wind up coming to my inbox telling me that they have dealt with it. They have it currently at home.
No.
They tried to divorce it. And lastly, it burnt them so bad that they never want to be in another relationship. They ain't getting serious with nobody. That sounds so much like how we came out of these toxic relationships with our narcissistic partners or ex-partners.
Yeah. Listen, toxic is toxic.
Toxic is toxic.
And one of the tragedies of it all is that, if you've been groomed to accept that type of behavior your whole life. I have a video where I talk about being groomed by one demon to be passed on to another demon. That's exactly what it is. And so, it's not, you just used to those patterns. And that's why it's so essential to be able to just sit down by yourself. I don't think it's, one of the worst things is to go seek a relationship right after these experiences. As, and I think when we what's so devastating about it is that you get to watch them go off, skipping off into the sunset with somebody else.
Yeah.
And you start to question, well, was it me? What about me? And this is both, both for the gentlemen and the ladies, right? So you're wondering, what was it about me? And your mind becomes fixated on that, and you ruminate on those things because of the type of abuse you've experienced over time. And then, you throw in like the gaslighting, the verbal assault, and the belittling, all of those things. It's just a whole toolbox of evil, evil, evil wickedness, right?
Yeah.
And then now that, you stay there questioning yourself. But like I said, it's your threshold for pain was increased as
Absolutely.
as you were younger. And then there's also that tendency now to people please, or to try and make it better, or maybe, but no.
No, you're right. And,
Just
and, and
no.
because it does so much damage to your self-esteem, you begin to try to figure out where would you go anyway.
Exactly.
You think people see you the way you now see you, and you see you the way he or she has told you that they see you. You know what I mean? And so it's a horrible pattern. It's a horrible cycle. It's a quandary. It's terrible. It's hard. It's really a bad place to find yourself. I think with your platform, what you're doing with your platform is trying to get ahead of this, trying to teach and drop the knowledge so that people don't have to go through what we went through and so many others. It's like as soon as we begin to tell our story, you suddenly realize there is really a village.
There really is. And
There's a whole continent of people.
here's the thing, it's like, unless somebody has really been through it, like, if you talking to somebody who does not know is one of the worst things that you can do for yourself.
Thing. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, it sets you so back. You're like, well, why are you still thinking about this person? And you're like,
Right.
don't you understand what I'm telling you? And they're like,
Yes,
yeah, there's
yes.
something wrong with you. And then you have to deal with those emotions
Got to
again.
deal with all that. Yeah, yeah. Look, let me tell you, I'm going to share this with you because you are so correct. I found myself, and it's funny because hey, I'm having this conversation with you tonight, and we're gonna obviously talking about a myriad of things, but specifically talking about narcissism. Now, every time I talk about narcissism, my own narc will hoover my content and will tell me like I know it's gonna come, but will tell me that, oh, you must still love me, or I must have hurt you so bad that you're never gonna be able to forgive me. And I'm thinking, I promise you, the last 50 podcasts that I've had and I spoke about narcissism was not because of my love for you. It truly is because I'm trying to teach people about the things I didn't recognize, I didn't know. It's not because, but girl, he's convinced. And it used to frustrate me. And then I'd be thinking like, and then I just stopped talking about narcissism altogether. I was like, I'm not talking about it at all. But then I had to think about it. You know what? That grandiose mentality and that entitlement and that power, that false sense of power. And girl, I said, I got on here. I'm like, boy, whatever. I am not talking, not talking about you, but I am talking about these spirits. I am talking about these behaviors. I am talking about that personality trait. And it lies in more than just you. It lies in a lot of people. And I want to make sure that I can help warn anyone that may not know the signs, may not know. If they hear us talking about this, they may be like, what exactly are you talking about? Girl, who did, and they begin to start looking. That's what happened to me. I had to start looking, even though I'm in a field where, the DSM-5 is, like part of our curriculum of learning. But you don't really realize how it applies to you until you realize it now applies to you because you in this thing. You like, I should have known better, you know. So yeah, so that's why I do what I do. But I'm telling you, you talk to people that don't get it, and you be set back another 4 years, 4 years.
You know what? Let me say this. Let me piggyback off what you just said. It's like you don't
Sure.
know until you know, right? Even though the
Yeah.
DSM-5 is right there, right?
Mhm.
And that's what happens as a coach. I'll get people who've been to therapy and their therapist didn't get it.
Yeah.
And now here they are, even more wounded.
Yes.
And it's like, how do
Yeah.
you pick up those pieces?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah, I always tell people, like, when you go into therapy, make sure that your therapist specializes in what you need to go to therapy for.
Yes.
You've got to.
Yeah.
And you don't really find like narcissistic abuse therapists, but you can find emotional abuse therapists.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
that really understand. That helps your healing rather than just going to, I don't know if it's generalized or what, but
Yeah, you're so right. They don't always know. Well, it's moving a little bit more now. I can see it. If you look
thankfully,
for them, they'll have it, you know. They'll have the little narcissistic, specialized in. I love to see that. But you're right. And what I realized has happened to a lot of people that I knew along this journey, trying to help people flee, find safe, safety plans, and so on and so forth. Um, is that sometimes they'll go to therapy and the therapist is so heavy on self accountability, and I'm all about accountability, but when you are a victim of NPD, when you press people to have this overwhelming amount of accountability, it's the same exact wound that you're reopening, that the narc has been slicing open for the last X amount of time. So you have to be careful, because the narc sits there and tells you everything is your fault anyway. I didn't ask you to stay. I'm not making you be here. So you got to be careful not to pour that accountability on a person that's been abused by NPD. All right, I'm done. Boop, boop, drop the mic.
listen, that's re-victimizing them. And
Re-victimizing.
I think what people don't realize is that a lot of times the victims are already holding themselves accountable. And
Too
sometimes
much.
the danger of it is you now are they want to assume, and I did it, responsibility for their behaviors. You can't do that.
That's
You've got
right.
to make sure that you own your part, but leave their mess right there with
Ooh,
them.
yes,
You've
yes.
got to know how to draw that line in the sand. And
Yeah.
it's so difficult because of the enmeshment, right? And some of it starts in childhood.
Yeah.
And so to actually be able to see things clearly, like, listen, this is why it's so important to sit down and get to know yourself. I think the generation that raised us, right? They did the best that they could with what they had for most of them. Some were just flat out lazy and didn't care. But I want to believe that the overwhelming number, the overwhelming majority did the best that they could. And remember, therapy is only okay, and I'm not saying like it wasn't okay, but it's only popular with our generation going forward. They're not necessarily running to therapy right now. They're
Yeah.
just stuck in their ways. And so, they did what they knew, but now we know differently. And I think as parents, we got to incorporate these conversations with our children to
Yeah.
let them know. My kid would be mad if she heard me say this, but we talk. And so she tells me what goes on with her friends. And I'm just like, whoa,
Yeah.
why are their moms not talking?
Right. 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 I'm so glad that mine are now. I mean, my son is grown and gone. I don't know. Is that my phone ringing? Oh, something's ringing on my phone. Is that you and me? Oh, of course, somebody will be calling me when they see me live. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, my son, he's grown and gone. However, he saw a lot, he heard a lot. I've been very open, sharing with him about relationships, toxic patterns, and so on. I still have to share it. Even though he may not do exactly as I wish he would, he has the tools. He knows exactly what toxicity looks like and what unhealthy is. Um, Same thing with my daughter. And all I can do is just keep that conversation going, because they're going to be, I mean, we see the generation that's coming, right? We see what's behind us. We see what they're into. They're social media babies, right? So
Yeah.
I have to do the best I can, because it's hard for me, but I know it's going to become harder for them, trying to really connect and find real love and not get caught up in this toxic lifestyle that is constantly out here being pressed in their face all the time. Hopefully, hopefully they can navigate it a little better than I did.
Hopefully. But I
Hopefully.
think, I guess we can just pray for the best and teach
Yes.
them
Yeah.
and make sure they're comfortable telling us. I remember my son, now he's 15, right? He came to me and said, Mom, how do I know if this is a narcissist? And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, son, after we've had all these conversations, you asking me this question? And I was like, sit down and tell me about the behaviors. And he's going off, and I'm like, wow, in my mind. And I'm like listening to his concerns. And I'm like, okay, now, son, everything that we've talked about, everything that I've shown you, everything that how do you feel about this? He's like, I just don't want to, think the wrong thing about someone. And I'm like, you have to trust your judgment. The mere fact that you came to me a lot, and this is for us too. We want to be out here being FBI investigators. We want to show that the FBI we need a job at the academy. Listen, I wanted one too. Like, but when you just get the unctioning to do something like that and start you already have your answer.
I already know.
And for those that are, have grown up as people pleasers, just not confident with their decision making process and don't trust themselves. Again, a lot of times that stems from childhood, because when you have BPD or MPD in a parent, they're not validating their children. And so if a child is not validated, then how do they know how they are feeling, that they can trust that? How do they know that they can lean in on those emotions and be certain about them? How do they know that the decision that I'm making is good if they've never been validated? And so here you are trying to be an investigator and find out, where is this man? Like, listen, his thingy shows that he drove 9 miles today when it should be 3. And what's going on? You're doing the most. At
Right,
that point,
right.
it's time to pause. Your intuition does not require any evidence, and you got to start trusting that what you feel is worthy. Because one of the things that we don't talk about enough is one of those misread flags is just how you feel. When you find yourself wanting to be an investigator, that is a red flag. If you find yourself trying to do things out of character to keep or please somebody, and you
Yeah.
feel like, you feel that like I should, then that's your sign right there. That's your body speaking to you. And sometimes just how your body feels around a narc or that narc. I used to get migraines all the time.
Yeah. I
The
used to get
moment things
nauseous.
ended, see, the moment that thing ended, I didn't know what a migraine was anymore. My body had been speaking the whole time.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
you're on that mill just going round and round and round.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the body keeps score. You hit it, like intuition, that's the thing. It doesn't need evidence.
No.
No, that's why it's intuition, and it's great. And God gave it to us. It's a real gift. It's a GPS. It helps us to navigate through life if we just tune into it and lean into it. And I beat myself up all the time because I'm a empath and high intuitive. But guess what? I will override it because I want to see the good in people, right? So I'm being very intentional this year. Like, you know what? If you feel it, you are going to honor it. And it is, and let the chips fall where they may. It is what it is. So I am trying my best every day to make sure I'm in tune, because to be honest with you, I do feel it. I do see it. It shows up, and then I try to override it. So this time I'm like, nope, we're gonna just cruise through 22. Intuition. When you're led by it, be led by it. So I'm so glad you said that, because I needed that. That word was for me. All right. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, girl, because I'm gonna be pivoting out of here for one moment, because I know we got to wrap this up soon. I have a whole nother show to get on. However, I want you to finish your thought before I take this pivot.
Girl, you know what? I'm trying to remember that thought. No, go
Well, I was
ahead.
talking about my intuition, me really leaning into it for 2022. That is my plan. So that word that you just dropped was definitely for me. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sweetie. Now, of course, I know we have to be getting up out of here soon, but you and I want to talk about, is he a pastor, first of all, before I say the wrong thing? Is he pastor?
Apparently.
Okay. So, Pastor Michael Todd. Now, Many people that's probably watching this that have heard of him probably know him because he talks a lot about relationships. And so he has some good content out there, good stuff, good messages. But of course, as we all know, where there's good, there's also evil. So listen, what in the world was this man doing was it Sunday service? I have no idea. But what was he doing in church during this sermon the other day when he decided to spit in his hand and rub it on this man's face? Okay, I got the video. And
Girl,
I want to share it. I'm gonna try to share my screen so we can at least watch it. I don't know what YouTube sees or what whoever sees, but I'm going to share it because it's on YouTube. Because I want to watch it. Like it's like a 2-minute clip, but it's like an 8-9 minute segment that it had. But it's like a 2-minute clip. But I want to quickly watch this girl, and we got to talk about this for a moment because I need to know. I mean, you're a woman of God. I need to know your thoughts on this situation here. Okay. All right, so you give me a minute, okay? I'm gonna be right back. Okay. All right, cool. Give me 1 second. Let's see if I can get it up here.
It clearly yet.
Can you hear this?
girl, yes.
And this is where most people would not face Jesus anymore. What most people would do is turn away. What I'm telling you, it's just as he's physically standing here, knowing what's coming. God's saying, can you physically and spiritually and emotionally be able to stand? When getting the vision or receiving it might get nasty.
I think I would have not been
I'm gonna
okay
say
with
it in a
this
point just
at
like
all.
that.
Girl, I'm taking notes now.
I mean, God, I just bought in crazy faith. I just bought my dream car. And now you're going to ask me to sell it back and ride in the hoopty again? Yeah, because the vision I'm about to give you,
Girl, no.
it might get nasty.
I didn't see this far.
Girl, no. He on his eyes. Lord, somebody help us. Oh,
I ain't
Lord,
watching.
help
Do
somebody.
you hear and see the responses of the people? What I'm telling you is how you just reacted is how the people in your life will.
Okay. Now you know.
Oh, thank you.
Let's get
Thank you.
into this. Girl,
Oh,
tell me
girl.
what in the world just happened? What just happened?
Okay, you asking me, and okay, here we go. It was showmanship at its finest. And I didn't I when I first saw it, right? I saw it on TikTok. And when I understood where he was about to go, I stopped watching it. I didn't even watch it. So I was actually listening for the first time, like I didn't listen to as much, previously.
Yeah.
So what really jumped out to me, and it's so interesting that some people are so quick to defend Mike Todd. The gospel of Jesus Christ, first of all, does not need to be defended. The word of God stands by itself. The word is alive and active, sharper than any two-edged sword. So when we preach the word does God says he watches over his word to perform it. So you don't have to water down the gospel. You don't have to bring in the entertainment. I mean, do you go to church to be entertained or to be transformed? Are you checking off a box to say, okay, I did it, and you're doing this religiously? Or are you really seeking God? Because when we really think about what the last 3 years has been. How many lives were lost over just COVID alone. I mean, if you really think about it, like just pay attention to the signs of the times. And it's not that it's just COVID, but now, I mean, there's natural disasters, one after the other. Lives are being lost. People are experiencing, famine, with not just with, lack of supplies, lack of food, lack of those materials, but there's also a famine, I believe, in the body, because the word is about entertainment now. But what was so interesting about what Mr. Todd said was that he said most people wouldn't face Jesus, right? Most people wouldn't face Jesus. What exactly are you saying, Mike Todd? Because you're saying most people wouldn't face Jesus, they would turn away. But this man stood there and he paid attention to what you were saying and to what you were doing. He allowed you to do this. But you said most people wouldn't face Jesus, as in they would stop Jesus from doing what Jesus was there to do. So, does this make you more superior than Jesus? Does it make you better than Jesus? Because this man stood and allowed you to do those things, and I just don't understand. Like, when you dive into the scripture on its own is enough. When we really teach the word of God from that perspective and from really a desire to help people, it keeps people's attention. But when you need to now bring in antics to entertain people, because that's what it was, in my opinion, anyway. But the word of God itself kills, right? It kills, but then the spirit of God comes forth to bring life. So there's no need for the extra stuff. I think Mike Todd has a gift. He has a natural gift with words. He has the ability to communicate very well. And so I just don't understand. I don't get it. So, I mean, like, it's like at the end of the day, we all have to ask ourselves the question when we consider, who are you listening to? Who are you following? And why are you doing those things? Are you following it because you really desire to grow in God and you want to dive deeper in God and you want to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, which is what the word of God does on its own? Or are you going to fall into, the patterns of everything else? Like, do you want to live your best life here right now? Or do you want to live best for God? And I think at the end of the day, that's the question, because if we keep on tuning into these sounds, then that's what you're going to get. But like, how do you grow from that? And for me, that's what's problematic, because you have non-believers who are like, what is going on in the church?
Yeah.
And the church defending it. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm so lost over the fact that the church, when you shared with me that church were defending it, I was like, who's defending it? What are you talking
I'll send you screenshots.
So
I'll send you
I did a
screenshots.
little research, right? I looked back and I saw that people are justifying this behavior. And it makes me think, this is life, right? And unfortunately, these individuals have relationship within that church with this pastor. They're committed. Sometimes we can be committed to a fault, right? Where we can't even see the poor and bad behaviors. And I think that you should be in a position to condemn this type of behavior. Like, wait, that should not have happened. But unfortunately, they're obviously supporting him. And it made me think about when I was young and I knew of people in the church, right? Sexually molest young people, young children, or they would have all these different wives, or they were doing all kind of things that were not necessarily Christ-like, right? And if you said anything to them, the parishioners would be like, oh, the Bible said, touch not my anointing and do my prophet no harm. So you really couldn't say anything without the church gripping your throat and closing your mouth. And so when you told me about this and then I went to look at it, I was like, part of why some people aren't speaking up, because, they're scared to speak up because he's such a powerful prophet. But let me tell you something. I've always been a believer that right is right and wrong is wrong. I don't care if it's me or anyone else. It is what it is. And you said showmanship. I absolutely agree with you. And it was humiliating. I would have never stood up there and allowed it. And I get it. I know that, this guy probably just wanted to be obedient, right? I'm sure they talked about it. But did it have to go down that way? No, of course not. Absolutely not. And you're right. God's word don't need all of that. for me to get the point. And who are you preaching and teaching to? A bunch of idiots that you think that you got to do all of this to get them to understand what you're teaching, what you're saying? I don't think so. To me, I just think, girl, I would have lost my salvation for the day.
Girl, here's the thing. I think, there's such a personal responsibility, because who are you going to be loyal to? Are you going to be loyal to God, or are you going to be loyal to man?
The man,
And
exactly.
when we hear that, touch not my anointed, do my prophet no harm. Yeah, but here's the thing. God is not going to be mocked. Sometimes you're looking at somebody because that's your favorite, and they're saying what you want to hear. In wait, I just pulled it up because I wanted to share it. In 2 Timothy chapter 4, right? It actually talks about it. It starts at verse 3, where it says, "For a time shall be when men shall not suffer wholesome teaching," right? They won't suffer wholesome teaching, but at their desires they shall gather together themselves masters itching to their ears. So you want your ears tickled. So you go and find what you want so that it can soothe your soul and make you feel like, okay, I checked off the box and I went and it was pleasing to me. I like the way the pastor showed up. The thing about this, touch not my anointed, do my prophets no harm. I really believe in that. But you see, sometimes God lifts his anointing off people.
Ooh, girl.
Because of their behaviors, because of how their heart posture. This man, and I didn't hear this before, I gotta say it again. This man really said that most people wouldn't face Jesus. You can't tell me today Jesus walked right up in here right now and said, if I spit in your eyes, if I spit in your face, that your life, these things will happen. You're gonna see better. You're gonna have this 20/20 vision in the spirit or whatever, right? Because is spitting in somebody's face for cars? No. But if Jesus came to me right now and said, "The trust you may spit," because he's my Lord, and he has a track record of doing miracles. He raised the dead.
Yeah.
You hear me? He brought vision to blind Bartimaeus. He has been doing things. If you wanted to spit in somebody's face, this is my opinion now, I wish you would have found you a blind man. And I wish you'd have prayed for the anointing of God to fall on you that morning, that when you spit in this man's face, his eyes would be open and God gets the glory. Because right now, God isn't getting any glory out of this situation. It's just a bunch of bickering between the saints. And now non-believers are like, it's exactly why. Exactly why. Exactly why. It's all going to point back to God and not to you. And people just like who they like. That's all I know. Is like,
Unfortunately.
You mentioned that whole part about, like sexual assault in the church.
Mhm.
You really think Jesus that hung on the cross for the oppressed is worried about your bishop, your pastor, your deacon, your elder, and saying that it's okay to oppress a child? When people say, "Oh," and even he said it, that you can't divorce an abusive partner or abusive husband. Y'all they love Micah 2:16, but never read verse 15. Don't deal with the wife of your youth treacherously. That's the first thing that he said. So yeah, God doesn't like divorce. It's true, God hates divorce. But does that mean he hates you? And since when are we starting to pick and choose what we're gonna honor? Because some of the people who God hates divorce are cheating on their spouses anyway. Liars, cheaters, thieves, all kinds of things. So how is this divorce? You want people to stay in marriages where they are being beaten, where they are being abused mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically, spiritually, sexually, financially, and kids are growing up in this, and we worried about would Jesus approve of it? What do you think? Like, seriously, you think Jesus who died for the oppressed is okay with this? You see, because it's not that it's not that divorce breaks the marriage, it's the abuse. That's why that's why the word spoke about don't deal with the wife of your youth treacherously before it even touched on divorce. But people take what they want to take.
Girl. Pink Girl Teaches. Y'all, I told y'all tonight she would be here, and this girl is awesome. It's never enough time. I could just do this in general. Maybe we just need to chat more often because I swear I love talking to you.
I love it.
I love it.
Um,
So we must get together and talk a lot more frequently. I will do my parts. I apologize. I have not been in touch as I should, but I definitely be following you, girl. I'll be listening to everything you be talking about. So let's talk about this really quick before we get up out of here. I want to know where the viewers can find you, where they can follow you. Talk. I know you have books. I know you have a lot of things going on. So you got the platform, 3, 4, 5 minutes, whatever you need. Go ahead and let us know where you can be found.
First of all, thank you so much. I enjoy talking to you so much. Like I sit here and I'm like, I learned so much from you.
Oh,
And I just love your sweet spirit. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm just Pink Girl Teaches. From my website, you'll be able to pull me up
now
anywhere
wait.
else.
She being modest, y'all. Girl got books. She got classes. She got seminars. She got all these fancy videos with all kind of information. You're on all the platforms. You got a new platform you're going to. I mean, what's happening in 2022? Because I know you got your book out, or is it two? Is it one or two going on now?
So the book Fearless, The Relentless Pursuit,
Yes.
I published that last year, but it got picked up by a publisher, so it'll be republished and out in about June.
Congratulations, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. I do have a journal. There's Fearless the Lion.
Yes.
Um, but then I
Girl,
guess
bring
I'll
it to the. Can you reach it and put it up there? Come on now. We need to see that. I'm telling y'all, see, she's being modest. And look, it's
I
a
don't know if
book
you
book.
can
It's
see.
not even like, I mean, I'm not gonna do shade. It's a book. Let me just say that.
No, Fearless is like 181 pages.
Wow.
So the
That's a
interesting
book
thing
book.
about this, I was trying to write a book about love, right? I've been trying to write this book for years. And this time last year, I got COVID.
Oh,
And so, I was like, gosh, COVID was what it was last year. And I was like, well, I don't know how this thing gonna end. So I need to write my book. And I just felt a really strong pull. So I said my little prayer and I sat down. And don't you know, my whole trajectory shifted because Fearless is not about relationships. It's really about hope, finding hope in desperate situations. And, I talk about that whole 21st century thing, me and society and culture. I do have a chapter on relationships, but it's really like, wrote this book in 19 days.
what? Don't say that out loud because I'm trying to write a book now.
If I tell you, like I said, I fought to not write this book, but I believe it was everything I needed to read.
Yes.
And yeah, but
I need to talk to you about that on the side. So we're gonna talk about that on the side as well. But yeah, go ahead, please finish.
yeah, but on the 25th of this month, I have a journal, a guided journal for victims of narcissistic abuse. It's called Breathe. And I have a workshop that's going to take place on the 26th of February about breathe, right? So those that do register for the workshop will get a copy of the journal. And, we'll be able to really break this thing down. I'm about intimate spaces. It's difficult to really get into the nitty gritty of a thing and really do some, to help healing take place in such a grand scale. So these workshops, and I think I'm just going to be doing a bunch of workshops throughout this year because I got them lined up. And so it's just easier to pinkgirlteaches.com and wherever you want to follow me, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Algorithm hates me.
Yeah, well.
But that's neither here nor there. My website is the easiest way, and sign up for the newsletter.
And at the end of the day, what God has for you is for you. And
Right.
your gift will make room for you. We already know that. We know the word is true. It does not come
Right.
back void. So all that is already assigned to you. So we don't
Testify.
have to worry about it. So Facebook, y'all can trip. YouTube, you can trip, but you will not stop the purpose that God has on this girl's life. So Joy, thank you so much for joining me tonight. To the YouTubers, I know I'm so used to going on Facebook because normally I'm like, yo, Facebook always have all these messages and everything in it, but I want to do something different sometime. I need Facebook to understand that, hey, there are other options, right? Just as YouTube understand there are other options, even though oftentimes they're together, but we can still bring our people wherever we want to be and where we want them to find us. So for those of you that find us tonight on YouTube and you're watching us, please share this video. Follow Pink Girl Teaches because she is the bomb. And I think that, you know, if you're in pursuit, just trying to understand relationships and understand, you know, behaviors and toxic behaviors, and it doesn't quite feel right, and you got all this unrest in your gut, give her a try. Just listen to her and see if she resonates with you, then you know, hang with her. If she doesn't, trust me, going out there looking for her will lead you to the place that you need to be. So just come over here to Pink Girl Teaches, listen what she got to say. I need to find out a little bit more about the workshops. Are they live or are they going to be virtual?
They're virtual.
Okay, yeah, I need to find out a little bit about that because I may want to come out and support for myself and also to bring a few people out. So I'm definitely going to go to the website. Or you can just shoot me anything and you know how to reach me. So,
Okay.
but thank you so much. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. You can hang tight. I'm going to stop going live on YouTube. I'll end that. So to my YouTube family, love you guys. I'm out. We're going to get